Hare Krishna. Should we, I'll wait 1 minute. Should we start with some chanting? Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. So nice to be here with all of you today. I have allergies, so I have to. It's always such a highlight for me to come to ISV and to be here with all of you. You know, you made it. Congratulations, another week down. The next one starts tomorrow. And I realized for many years of my life, actually, at a pretty young age, relatively speaking, in my teenage years, I dedicated myself, at least tried to dedicate myself in full-time service, and I joined a brahmachari ashram, and for 8, close to 9 years of my life, I was fully, at least externally, fully immersed in devotional service. And I was always around devotees. And to some degree, I took it for granted at that time. You know, it's just like, oh, Bhakta so-and-so is here again, you know. And oh, another Bhagavatam class, oh, another, you know, offering, another arti, whatever it may be. And now in my life, you know, over the last 3 years or so, I transitioned out of full-time service, and now I have many other responsibilities. I have a family, and I have a job, and so many other things. And, you know, there's a saying, you don't know what you got until it's gone. You ever heard that one? Maybe in India it's slightly different, I don't know, but there's a saying that you don't know what you got until it's gone. And now that I, you know, have to associate with so many other types of people and do so many other types of things with my life and with my time, I now realize in hindsight, wow, what a great opportunity I had for so long to be with devotees and to serve. And if I had the experience that I have now back then, I would have taken it so much more with so much more gratitude, and I would have appreciated it so much more. I would have given myself so much more fully. But all's not lost, because whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever time you have, you can connect with Krishna. But it's something that I've realized in time, it's so special when I get these moments to come here and be with all of you. And to see the deities, and to somehow or other, with all of my shortcomings, be asked to serve in some way, you know, it's the most valuable thing in life. And I'm quite fortunate. I have a job that I really like, and the people, you know, around me think I'm pretty good at it. But even still, I realize that when I'm with devotees, I have a deeper meaning to my life. And that's a really important thing. Because life, although it seems like it's very long, anyone ever feel like life seems very long? It's actually very short, and at any moment, anything can happen. And where we spend our time today, every single day, has an impact on what value we have in our lives. And being with devotees, you get to really experience this. And we all have different goals in life. Many of us may have, you know, I know I have many material goals. We all want to become rich and famous and have the big house and the fast car and be the cool guy and whatever else. I'm praying that my hair will come back one day, but I don't think that's going to happen. But actually the real goal of life is beyond these things, because all these things are very fickle and they disappear in due course of time. And being with devotees, not only do you feel some inspiration to engage in devotional service, it's also a reminder for all of us what the real goal of life is and what the real direction we should be taking our lives. And this is true of any field or anything that you want to do. It's so important to surround yourselves with the people who are also trying to do the same thing. And that's why, like, gyms are very popular. Anyone here ever go to a gym? It's okay, we're friends, you can. But gyms, schools, libraries, all of these things, the power of those institutions is that everyone who has the same goal is coming to one place, and in that kind of sangha, in that association, in that community, you become inspired, you become reminded of why you're there, and there's this real, I'm not a mathematician, but if there's anyone here who's a mathematician, forgive me, but there's this equation of synergy in which the sum totals of the part far outvalue the individual pieces within it. And that's the same thing with us. When we come together as devotees, we may not have so much strength, we may not have so much advancement, so much realization, but when we're together, we can support one another and continue our journey back to Krishna. And so, not only do we get this through the association of devotees, but it's really important that we understand the goal. And we have these wonderful books that Srila Prabhupada took so much time to translate. And within these books, there are so many pastimes and so many personalities who also illustrate to us the ideal. What is the goal? Where are you heading for? And while I may not be there today, it's important that I at least have in my mind where I'm trying to go. And I see this a lot with people who have children. Anyone have children in the room? Right? When you have a child, you know the goal. You already know what college he's going to go to or she's going to go to, what they're going to study. Their whole career is mapped out. I know I have this accent, but I had Indian parents too. So I know before your kids are even 5 years old, you already have it picked out. This is where they're going to go. This is their career path. And because you know the goal, you know what steps they have to take to get there. So then you start to take them to mathnasium or kumon or whatever it may be these days. You know, there's extracurricular activities because that'll look good on the college application. And so, you know, here's poor 5-year-old whoever, and they have to go through all of these things, and they don't know the goal, but you know the goal. And so you know if they do these things, they will finally get there. And so similar in our spiritual lives, we may not be fully surrendered, we may not be completely selfless, but if we understand this is the ideal, and we associate with other people who are trying to also achieve that ideal, we can come together in Sangha. That's what Sangha ultimately means, is to come together and help one another to go there. We can see, this is where I want to go, I'm here right now, and let's go there together. And so, whenever I have these opportunities, I'm so grateful to be here with all of you, because it's a real reminder for me of like how far away I am, and I'm praying for your blessings and your mercy that maybe one day I can take a few steps closer if you feel so merciful. And so, there are many pastimes and personalities also within the Shastra, and also within today's day and age, who show us the example of what that ideal is. And one such personality is Sri Madhevendra Puri. And over the last 15 or so years, I've probably meditated on Madhevendra Puri more than I've meditated on anyone else, except for myself. I meditate on myself a lot. But I've thought about Madhevendra Puri so many times. I've read this particular pastime that we're going to dive into in the CC. Like, I can't remember how many times I've read it. I've read it more than anything else. I've spoken about it a lot. And, you know, week to week practically, if I'm talking, there's different devotees who I'm in touch with, I'm talking to, I will bring up Madhevendra Puri for some reason or another when I'm talking to them as an example of something, whatever that may be. And for us, in our sampradaya, or within the path of Krishna consciousness as laid out by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Madhevendra Puri is a really important personality. And our acharyas explain that Madhevendra Puri he was initiated within the Madhava Sampradaya. And he was the first person within the Madhava Sampradaya who brought in this concept of Madhurya Ras, or he brought forth the understanding of worshipping Radha and Krishna together, and that being the ultimate goal. And in many ways, we all know, at least the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also came with this same mood. This is Krishna himself who's come in the mood of Srimati Radharani, because her love for him was so powerful and so strong that even he couldn't understand it. And so he comes for external reasons and internal reasons. And his internal reasons was he wanted to taste what Srimati Radharani was tasting. So in many ways, Madhevendra Puri, he forged the way for the appearance of Mahaprabhu. He created the path. He brought in this concept of worshipping Radha and Krishna, and then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. And it's quite interesting because on the Vaishnav calendar, the disappearance day of Srila Madhevendra Puri always comes a few days before the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what happens often is, like, because it's Guru Purnim, we forget everything else because, you know, it's the appearance day of Mahaprabhu. And this is such an important celebration for us within our tradition of Madhevendra Puri. And sometimes it gets overlooked. And so I thought, when I was asked to speak earlier this week, and I didn't have much time to prepare, I thought, Madhevendra Puri, he just came to my mind. And I've been reflecting on this, so if I can take a few moments of your time, I'd love to share some of this pastime and see where we end up, if that's okay. And so I have these notes here, and I'll make another confession. This morning, I was asked, I think, on Tuesday evening if I could speak today, and I said yes, and then I haven't had much time. So this morning I thought, I'm going to write down some notes before the class. And I spent like 3 hours almost, and I practically wrote down every single verse in this chapter. And there's like 100 and something verses in this chapter. And I just realized there's no hope. I've got 6 pages of notes, and I barely scratched the surface here. And so I'll only be able to cover a few things here and there. But please bear with me. This pastime we could talk about week after week after week and still not grasp anything. And it's interesting also, because I realize the more that I study this pastime, the more I realize how little I actually know, which is always a fun place to be in life. But what this pastime illustrates to us is the goal, the ultimate goal. And that goal is, anyone? What's the ultimate goal of what we're trying to do here? To please Krishna. Anyone else? Well, he got the answer, so everyone knows no one else is going to go. To please Krishna, our goal is to serve Krishna and to serve Krishna selflessly. And that's what Madhevendra Puri, within the pastime that we're going to read today, illustrates, and his whole life actually illustrates that. And the other thing I find really interesting, and I've just been reflecting on this the last couple of days, is, again, just talking about the importance of Srila Madhevendra Puri. Before we chant the Maha Mantra, we chant another mantra. Anyone know what mantra we chant? The Panchatattva mantra. That we understand Panchatattva, there's a picture right there on that wall. The Panchatattva are like our entrance into the holy name. And if we look at the Panchatattva, there are 5 personalities there. And Advaita Acharya, he prayed, and it was the power of his prayer that brought Lord Chaitanya to the world. And Advaita Acharya is a disciple of Madhevendra Puri. Some people say also Lord Nityananda is a disciple of Madhevendra Puri. And then you have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who is a disciple of Ishwara Puri. And Ishwara Puri's guru was Madhevendra Puri. And then you have Gadada Pandit. And Gadada Pandit was initiated by Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and Pundarik Vidyanidhi's guru was Madhevendra Puri. So far, 4 out of the 5 of the Panchatattva are either directly or one place removed disciples of Srila Madhevendra Puri. Now, Srivas Pandit's an interesting one. Does anyone know who Srivas Pandit's guru is? Well, it's Radhanath Swami, for anyone who knows our Srivas Pandit. But Srivas Pandit from the Panchatattva, I've looked over the years in different places, I've asked many people, I've never got a definitive answer that anyone's shown me, it says here that this is the guru. But I have heard that Advaita Acharya was the guru of Srivas Pandit. So again, Srivas Pandit now, the Param guru is Madhevendra Puri. So now we can start to see the importance of Madhevendra Puri. So I'm just setting the scene of this is a really interesting pastime, and it's a really interesting chapter within the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so, let me look at my notes here. We're going to look at the Madhya Lila, chapter 4, and we're just going to read the English translation, so we're going to go from 10 to 20 to begin. And while that comes up on the screen, I'll just set the scene. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna himself, and he has come into this world for external reasons and internal reasons, but we can say broadly speaking 2 reasons. One, to set the path for Kali Yuga, to teach the process by which we can perfect our lives in this age. And the internal reason being he wanted to understand the love of Srimati Radharani. And so as he is, he's born, he's called Nimai Pandit. He's very famously known within the scholarly world as the greatest Pandit. He could defeat anyone. And at the age of 24, in this deep sense of wanting to help other people connect to Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone loved Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's some people who a lot of people love. I've not really ever found anyone who everyone loves. It's very rare, but everyone loved him. And they would see him and they would melt. He had this beautiful long hair and this golden complexion. And he would swoon as he would walk around. And as he became more and more engrossed in the holy name of Krishna, his beauty just increased. But one fine day, he decided that in order to really reach more people, he had to take sannyas. So he takes sannyas, and from there he goes to the house of Advaita Acharya, Shantipur. And all of the devotees are distraught. He had this long, beautiful hair, and it's all shaved now. Here he is with his shaved head, and his beautiful garments are now, he's wearing the garments of a mendicant, just a very simple cloth, and he's carrying his danda. And the devotees are heartbroken. Not just by looking at it, now his hair's gone and he's changed, but they know now he's taken sannyas, his whole life will change. He's going to leave us. He won't be with us anymore. And feeling this deep, pain, knowing that Mahaprabhu was about to leave, Sachi Mata, the mother of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she petitioned him. She said, please don't go to Vrindavan. It's too far. We're here in Bengal, and I'll never hear about you. I'll never be able to see you. And so please just go to Jagannath Puri. If you have to go anywhere, go to Jagannath Puri. And so, this is a whole other pastime. We could talk about this another time. But, Mahaprabhu agrees, and he's on his way to Jagannath Puri, and he leaves with 4 of his devotees to travel to Jagannath Puri, leaving Shantipur. And on his way to Puri, he comes across a place known as Raimuna. And Raimuna is in Orissa. And it's really interesting. Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, and after the kind of unfolding of what happens at Advaita Acharya's house In Shantipur, the first place that Mahaprabhu goes after taking sannyas is Remuna. And so that's setting the scene. And so we're going to read from text 10 up to 20. We can go to just the English translations without the verse by verse like this. And I'm going to ask a favor of all of you, if I may. I'm so boring I put myself to sleep. So we're going to break this up, and I'm going to ask if anyone would feel inspired to read. And we'll read the first from 10 to 20 if someone feels inspired to read. Okay, we had so many volunteers. I have so many that we're going to do, so I'm going to come to everyone who put their hands up. So to begin with, we'll go from 10 till 20, and we'll stop at 20.
Hare Krishna. CC Madhya 4.10. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded towards Jagannath Puri with 4 of his devotees, and he chanted the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, with great eagerness. Each day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally went to a village and collected a great quantity of rice and other grains for the preparation of prasadam. There were many rivers on the way, and at each river there was a tax collector. The tax collectors did not hinder the Lord, however, and he showed them mercy. Finally, he reached the village of Remuna. The deity of Gopinath in the temple of Remuna was very attractive. Lord Chaitanya visited the temple and offered his obeisances with great devotion. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances at the lotus feet of the Gopinath deity, the helmet of flowers on the head of Gopinath fell down and landed on the head of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When the deity's helmet fell upon his head, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased, and thus he chanted and danced in various ways with his devotees. All the servants of the deity were struck with wonder due to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intense love, his exquisite beauty and his transcendental qualities. Because of their love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they served him in many ways, and that night the Lord stayed at the temple of Gopinath. The Lord remained there because he was very eager to receive the remnants of the sweet rice offered to the Gopinath deity. Having heard a narration from his spiritual master, Ishwar Puri, of what had once happened there. That deity was known widely as Kshirachor Gopinath, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his devotees the story of how the deity became so famous. Formerly, the deity had stolen a pot of sweet rice for Madhevendra Puri. Therefore, he became very famous as the Lord who stole the sweet rice.
Thank you so much. So, this is just setting the scene of what's happening. So Lord Chaitanya, he's left Shantipur. Hare Krishna. He left the home of Advaita Acharya, promising his mother that he wouldn't go to Vrindavan to reside, that he would reside in Jagannath Puri. And on the way from Navadvip to Puri, he stops in Remuna, and he comes to the temple of Gopinath. And while he's in the temple of Gopinath, he's paying obeisance to the deities, and he's starting to feel some ecstasy, and he starts to tell the devotees who are with him of this story of Madhevendra Puri and Gopinath stealing. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it gets translated as sweet rice. But has anyone ever been to Remuna, to this temple? You've been? Have you ever had the preparation? Can you tell us a little about it? I'm just preparing the appetite for prasadam so we can.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, it tastes like rabdi, Prabhu. Rabdi is very sweet, and it's very thick, and it's very tasty, delicious.
Yes, delicious.
I never tasted that anywhere.
Me neither. It's delicious, and it's in some places it's translated as sweet rice, right? Because we say kheer means sweet rice, but actually there's no rice in it. And in other places it's actually translated as condensed milk. But even condensed milk is like, it's like you can't compare the two. And it is like condensed milk, and it's like rubbery. It's just the solids of the milk start to form. And so actually there's no rice in it, and it's I had it once. I was fortunate to be in that place, and we had it. No rice, it's just condensed milk, and they boil the milk, and they just boil it and boil it and boil it with sugar. At least this is my recipe. I don't know I don't have the devotion. But it's boiled and boiled and boiled with some sugar in it, and it starts to it gets thicker and thicker and thicker, but then like rubbery, you get like pieces of milk solids within it, and it's just, I mean, it's hard to describe. It's like creamy and, but just, I mean, I won't even start to describe it because then that'll take the whole 2 hours we're together. But very interestingly, in these 10 verses that we just read, Mahaprabhu, just taken sannyas, goes to Ramuna, and the first thing he starts to do is starts to glorify a devotee. He's not talking about, yes, I've taken sannyas, now I'm going to go out and preach. And the first thing he does is he starts to glorify Srila Madhevendra Puri. It's an important lesson for us. And the title of this class, at least in the newsletter, was Selfless Service. And so this is the first lesson in selfless service. Why do you want selfless service? Because when you serve selflessly, even Krishna will glorify you. And I'm not saying that's, we want Krishna to glorify us, but what I'm saying is that even Krishna will recognize, oh, this is a devotee. And Mahaprabhu here, is now starting to glorify someone who he sees, look at this selfless devotee. I'll tell you a quick story. Some of you may know, I work in the field of non-profit, and I'm I'm the CEO of one company. And when we moved here to the Bay Area, the founder of my company, he introduced me to someone who we live in Fremont, and this person lived in Fremont. And so he said, you should go, oh yeah, you're moving here, you don't know anyone, you should meet this person. And he was just an acquaintance of the founder of our company. And this person, we only had one car at the time, so my wife, she drove me there, and she dropped me off outside the gates. And I pressed the buzzer in the gate. Hello, yes, I'm here to see so-and-so. The gates opened. And I walked through the gates, and I started looking, and I was like, where's the house? And I realized, I had to walk another 5 minutes to get to his house. This was, the caliber of this man. He had this huge house, beautiful, just really amazing. And I went there and I went to meet him, and I'm just meeting him because the founder of my company said, hey, you're Indian, he's Indian, you just moved here, you don't know anyone, get to know each other. And the whole first 15 minutes, the man sat like this. And no matter what I said, he was just, And he was asking me questions, who are you, where are you from, but just very he was so tense. I've never I thought, is there a tiger in the room? He was just so tense. And finally I said to him, I asked him is everything okay sort of thing, And he went, I'm not giving any money. And I just thought, wow, I didn't even think about that. He thought, you work for a non-profit, you're the CEO of the non-profit, your founder of the non-profit said you should come and meet me, and now you're here meeting me. And so he was just, and there's this thing, when you know that someone wants something from you, you're just, anyone ever shop at Whole Foods or something? And sometimes you come out and there's those Greenpeace people standing outside. And what do? Immediately you see them, and you just try and avoid them as much as possible. And there's this feeling that comes when you know that someone wants something from you. That they're not being even if they're being nice to you, you still know inside, you want something from me. And so spiritual life, through the teaching of Mahaprabhu, is all about building a relationship with Krishna. And in all relationships, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your work, whether it's your friendships, relationships are reciprocal. And if you've ever been in a relationship with someone where you feel like this person just wants to take something from me, what it does is you immediately close off, He had his guard up. And this is why selfless service is so important, and this is why it's spoken about so much by our acharyas. Because when you serve selflessly, you melt Krishna's heart. Krishna realizes you don't want anything from me. And as soon as someone comes to your house and you know they don't want anything, you open the door, come in, please. And if you just situate yourself in a place, I just want to give to you, then Krishna, the whole world opens up for you. And we'll see this as the pastime unfolds. And Krishna recognizes the selflessness of the devotee. And he starts to glorify that. He doesn't, speaking, Madhevendra Puri, he was so rich and he was so handsome. And do you know what family he came from? And do you see his car? He was driving a Tesla. The reason he's glorifying Madhevendra Puri is that selflessness. And so this is showing why the goal is selflessness, because even Krishna recognizes the selfless devotee. And when Krishna recognizes you, the whole world becomes yours. So that's the first lesson. And the other thing that's interesting also, This verse 20, but also 19, it says, the deity, Prabhu, do you mind just going up to 19? That deity was widely known as Kirchor Gopinath, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his devotees the story of how the deity became famous. I'll just stop for a minute, you can think about that, right? Formerly, the deity had stolen a pot of sweet rice from Madhevendra Puri. Therefore, he became very famous as the Lord who stole the sweet rice. I mean, that's a really interesting point. He has a deity, not only a deity, but Gopinath. You know, Gopinath means the Lord of the Gopis. And yet, we're reading in the pages of CC through the expression of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that the deity became famous after he stole the pot of sweet rice for his devotee. And you see, like I spoke about this last time I was here, about this kind of perpetual cycle, this vortex of appreciation. Madhevendra Puri is so selfless that Krishna is glorifying him, and Krishna is becoming glorious because he stole something for him. You see this cycle that takes place? This is the reciprocal nature of relationship. Madhevendra Puri is famous because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna in the form of Mahaprabhu, is glorifying him, and the deity is famous because Madhevendra Puri came there selflessly and was gifted a pot of sweet rice. It's an interesting thing for me. When I read this morning, I was like, oh, that's interesting. The deity became famous. Before, he was just Gopinath. Now he's Kirchor Gopinath. Now he's famous. Before that, he was just another deity. You know, they're a dime a dozen or something. So interesting, appreciation. If you want to become a devotee, if you want to be recognized by Krishna, first become selfless, and secondly, let's follow in the footsteps of Mahaprabhu, who came to teach us the method of awakening love for Krishna, and that is to glorify the devotee. So now we will read, I can't remember who else put their hand up. I think, yes, Prabhu. So we're going to go now, this is a long one, from 21 down to 46, as the pastime continues to unfold.
Okay. Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya Leela 4.21. Once Sri Madhevendra Puri travelled to Vrindavan, where he came upon the hill known as Govardhan. Madhevendra Puri was almost mad in his ecstasy of love of Godhead, and he did not know whether it was day or night. Sometimes he stood up, and sometimes he fell to the ground. He could not discriminate whether he was in a proper place or not. After circumambulating the hill, Madhevendra Puri went to Govinda Kund and took his bath. He then sat beneath a tree to take his evening rest. While he was sitting beneath a tree, an unknown cowherd boy came with a pot of milk, placed it before Madhevendra Puri and, smiling, addressed him as follows. "O Madhevendra Puri, please drink the milk I have brought. Why don't you beg some food to eat? What kind of meditation are you undergoing?" When he saw the beauty of that boy, Madhevendra Puri became very satisfied. Hearing his sweet words, he forgot all hunger and thirst. Madhevendra Puri said, "Who are you? Where do you reside? And how did you know that I was fasting?" The boy replied, "Sir, I am a cowherd boy, and I reside in this village. In my village, no one fasts. In this village, a person can beg food from others and thus eat. Some people drink only milk, but if a person does not ask anyone for food, I supply him all his eatables. The women who come here to take water saw you, and they supplied me with this milk and sent me to you." The boy continued, "I must go very soon to milk the cows, but I shall return and take back this milk pot from you." Saying this, the boy left the place. Indeed, he suddenly could be seen no more, and Madhevendra Puri's heart was filled with wonder. After drinking the milk, Madhevendra Puri washed the pot and put it aside. He looked forward the path, but the boy never returned. Madhevendra Puri could not sleep. He sat and chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and at the end of the night he dozed a little, and his external activities stopped. In a dream, Madhevendra Puri saw the very same boy. The boy came before him and, holding his hand, took him to a bush in the jungle. The boy showed Madhevendra Puri the bush and said, "I reside in this bush, and because of this I suffer very much from severe cold, rain showers, winds and scorching heat. Please bring the people of the village and get them to take me out of this bush. then have them situate me nicely on top of the hill. Please construct a temple on top of that hill, the boy continued, and install me in that temple. After this, wash me with large quantities of cold water so that my body may be cleansed. For many days I have been observing you, and I have been wondering, when will Madhevendra Puri come here to serve me? I have accepted your service due to your ecstatic love for me. Thus I shall appear, and by my audience all fallen souls will be delivered. My name is Gopala. I am the lifter of Govardhan Hill. I was installed by Vajra, and here I am, the authority. When the Muslims attacked, the priest who was serving me hid me in this bush in the jungle. Then he ran away out of fear of the attack. Since the priest went away, I have been staying in this bush. It is very good that you have come here. Now just remove me with care. After saying this, the boy disappeared. Then Madhevendra Puri woke up and began to consider his dream. Madhevendra Puri began to lament. I saw Lord Krishna directly, but I could not recognize him. Thus he fell down on the ground in ecstatic love. Madhevendra Puri cried for some time, but then he fixed his mind on executing the order of Gopala. Thus he became tranquil.
Thank you. We'll stop there this time. Thank you so much. So this is, I'll just recap some of that. So Madhevendra Puri, he comes to Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, he goes to Govardhan. So in the Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami describes of all the places in the world, Vrindavan is considered the most sacred. And amongst the land, the area known as kind of the greater Vraj, Govardhan Hill is considered the highest. And so Madhevendra Puri comes here. And he takes his bath in Govindakund. And in the CC translation, it says, he sits down to take his evening rest. Other places, our acharyas say, before he takes his rest, when he sits down, he starts to meditate on Krishna, he starts to chant the holy name. And what happens as he's chanting his holy name is that this boy appears to him and says, hey, Baba, I got something for you. Come here. And he says, I see. This is really, there's a whole class just on these verses, but I'll try and be very succinct if possible. I see that you're fasting. And so I brought this milk for you. And then he goes on to say, well, how did you know I was fasting? He says, well, the women of my village, they saw that you were fasting. And they told me, hey, take this milk to this Babaji who's sitting here fasting. And in my village, no one goes hungry. And so let's just extract a little here, which is really wonderful. Firstly, Madhevendra Puri was sitting and he was chanting the holy name. He was meditating upon Krishna. And then Krishna appeared to him with milk. And this is an important lesson in selfless service too. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he once commented, do not act in such a way that you want to see Krishna, but rather act in such a way that Krishna would want to see you. And we see this with Madhevendra Puri. He lived his life in such an exemplary way, serving selflessly, not wanting, like it also says in the CC, he was not in the kind of habit of begging for anything. If something came of its own accord, great. If it didn't, no problem. He was so absorbed in his bhajan, in his sadhana. And Krishna came to him. And so the process of Krishna consciousness is not that we, on the strength of our sadhana, on the strength of our practice or the strength of our knowledge, we will go to Krishna. But rather, Krishna will come to us. This is an descending process, not an ascending process. And, I believe the devotees here are reading the Ramayana right now. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ravana wanted to build a staircase to heaven. Right? Well, I think it was even golden staircase, right? That's a pretty nice staircase, a golden staircase to heaven. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't make it to heaven that way. Because it's guarded. You can't get there like that. Krishna has to let you in. And this is what happens when we're chanting the holy name. We're not chanting the holy name so we can get Krishna, but so Krishna can take us. And this is also illustrated in Damodar Leela. During Kartik, we read this Leela of Damodar. And it's explained in the Damodar Leela. It's a long story as well, but Mother Yashoda, she's boiling milk and trying to produce this sweet butter and yogurt for Krishna. But if you read the pastimes from some of our acharyas, it's explained that she's outside doing this, or she's doing this in another room. And meantime, Krishna is sleeping somewhere else, and he's asleep. And some of our acharyas explain that while she's doing this, while she's churning the butter, or she's churning the yogurt to become butter, her bangles are like hitting each other, and there's like this clinking sound. Some people relate this to the kartals. And she is singing. And what is she singing? She's singing the glories of Krishna. She's singing Krishna's name. So we could say in one sense the first kirtan ever took place was Mother Yashoda by herself churning. Her bangles are hitting together like the cartels. When she's churning the yoga, it's making this like whoomp, whoomp sound, kind of like a mridanga, and she's singing. And then what happens, as the acharyas explain it, is that Krishna in the other room wakes up, and he rubs his eyes, and he goes to her. Again, it's another example, just like here in Madhevendra Puri. Krishna came to the devotee. The devotee was absorbed in serving and meditating upon Krishna, and then Krishna came to them. It wasn't that they went to Krishna. This is another lesson in selfless service. Situate yourself in such a way that you are just looking for service. Don't worry about finding Krishna. Krishna will find you. You find service, and Krishna will find you. Guaranteed. Madhevendra Puri illustrates it. Damodar Leela illustrates it. Dhruva Maharaj is another example. Krishna came to him. And there's many examples of this. Our job is we seek service. We don't seek Krishna, and then Krishna will seek us out. He already knows where you are. Don't worry. You got the GPS turned on your phone, right? Location services. Krishna has that. He was the first orienter of location services. So, and then the next point that I had was, no one in my village goes hungry. You'll never be a loser if you surrender to Krishna. Never. There's a verse in the Gita, Bhaktya Kuntaya Pratijanani Name Bhaktya Pranashiti. That declare it boldly, Arjuna, my devotee never perishes. I'll take care of you. Right? End of the Gita. What did Krishna say? Surrender to me, I will deliver you. Yeah. I'll protect you. I'll take responsibility for you. If you surrender to me, I'll take responsibility for everything. So Madhevendra Puri, he didn't have to beg. Because, the son of a rich man doesn't have to beg anyone for anything. And so Krishna himself brings this milk to Madhevendra Puri. So you will never lose if you surrender to Krishna. Here's Madhevendra Puri, who has nothing, sitting under a tree, and yet everything was provided to him. And we'll see again in the pastime how this theme continues of Krishna providing everything. Next point from these verses, which I really love, was Krishna says, yeah, some of the ladies in my village, some of the women from my village, they saw you, and they said, he's fasting. And so they gave me this milk, and they said, come and bring it to you. Krishna is carried in the heart of the devotee. Actually, how does Krishna come to, like I'm saying, Krishna will come to you, you find service, and Krishna will come to you. But he will come to you because the other devotees will start to say, oh, Krishna, this person, this person is ready for your recognition. They're ready for your mercy. And that's why, going back to the beginning of this pastime, appreciating the devotees is so important. Serving the devotees is so important because they are the key of unlocking the door of your heart so Krishna can enter. So that's another symptom of selfless service. The other devotees will start to say, wow, this person really deserves Krishna's mercy. Sometimes I'll look at you and say, this person really needs Krishna's mercy. But if you serve selflessly, they'll say, this person really deserves Krishna's mercy. And they will petition Krishna on your behalf. You don't have to worry. So I really like that point on of these verses we read. And then, see, I have so many notes, I don't even know which ones I should choose. Okay, this is an interesting one. There's a progression here that we can see. First, Madhevendra Puri, he's chanting the holy name of Krishna. Then this little boy comes and gives him the milk. Then he falls asleep, and in a dream, the same little boy comes and reveals, I'm Gopal. 3 ways Krishna revealed himself to Madhevendra Puri. Through the holy name, he came to him personally, and then he came to him in a dream. And then we'll see, he gave him the 4th way of seeing Krishna. And there's the deity. Let me show you the deity. And so there's many ways that we can see Krishna. Krishna appears to us in different ways. And all those ways are perfect and complete. Ishopanishad tells us that. It's not that one is more powerful than the other, or one is more deficient than the other. All of them. The deity, Krishna personally, in the dream, and also in the holy name. And now I can speak for myself. You will tell me, maybe I'm the odd one out here, but Krishna's never brought me milk. Anyone here? Krishna came to you and said, here's some milk. Because you're not saying no, I'm assuming you're all. So thank you. I mean, I'm going to take the dust from all your feet later. And Krishna's never come to me in a dream and directed me to service. No matter how crazy my mind is, that's never happened to me. But one thing that is available to me is the holy name of Krishna. And actually, if you look at the progression in this pastime, this all began with Madhevendra Puri sitting under a tree and chanting the holy name. And Acharyas again tell us that within the holy name, everything is encapsulated. There isn't anything that is lacking. The holy name is not that you chant the holy name to get to Krishna. Krishna is the holy name. They're non-different. And so 4 different ways in which Madhevendra Puri saw Krishna, and you see this progression. It all started with his, surrender and dedication to chanting, meditating upon Krishna in that way. Sometimes I think about this also. Srila Narottam Das Thakur in his, this is one song, Hari Hari Bifale, I think. There's this verse, this one line he writes, Goloka Premadhana, Harinam Sankirtan. Golokera Premadhana, right? So he's saying the Harinam, the name of Krishna, is coming from Goloka. Not only is it coming from Goloka, but it's Goloka Prem. It's like fully Goloka Prem. This is what we're aiming for. Madhavendra, again, I don't want to get too Rasic here, but I'm going to do it just for a little bit. That Madhevendra Puri, he came to bring this Madhurya Ras. The highest form of Madhurya Ras, or Madhurya Ras is shown in Goloka Vrindavan, and the highest form of that is in the Prem, Krishna Prem. So Narottam Das Thakur, when he's saying Golokera Premadhana Harinam Sankirtan, he's saying the holy name is full of Goloka Prem. So anyone who comes to the Hare Krishna temple on the first day, you're given Krishna Prema. You are given the Krishna Prem in the form of the holy name. You may not see it, you may not recognize it, but that's the gift that you are given on day 1. You don't even have to come to the temple. You go to Palo Alto some Friday evenings, and there's a Harinam out there, and you'll get it. But just like any good gift, it comes nicely packaged, and it's packaged in your own conditioning. The purpose of your sadhana, the purpose of your service is to undo that gift wrapping, and then you'll see, oh, what was given to me was actually Goloka Prem, the Prem of the Brajabasis. That's a side point that just came to me when I was reading this pastime. So anyway, and then just to finish, so 4 different ways Madhevendra Puri took darshan of Krishna. The holy name came to him personally, in the dream, and then in the deity. But then the most powerful way, which now helps this pastime unfold, he gave him seva darshan. Because Krishna doesn't come and just say, I'm here, let's hang out. When Krishna comes, it means it's time to serve. So if we go back now to Damodar Lila, when Krishna woke up and went to Mother Yashoda, what did he say to her? Give me milk, feed me. So be careful, because when Krishna comes, it's time to roll up your sleeves and start working. So you may as well prepare now, because practice makes perfect. So seva is the beginning, and seva is the end. Seva is the thread that runs through your whole life. And you can make a choice, whether you serve yourself or you serve Krishna, but you cannot escape seva in any way, shape, or form. Seva is the means to get more seva. And that's the most powerful darshan that we'll see in Madhevendra Puri. Got seva darshan. He was given darshan through the form of seva. So now we're going to read from 47 through 66. And Mataji in the front.
After taking his morning bath, Madhevendra Puri entered the village and assembled all the people. Then he spoke as follows. The proprietor of this village, Govardhan Dhari, is lying in the bushes. Let us go there and rescue him from that place. The bushes are very dense, and we will not be able to enter the jungle. Therefore, take choppers and spades to clear the way. After hearing this, all the people accompanied Madhevendra Puri with great pleasure. According to his directions, they cut down bushes, cleared a path, and entered the jungle. When they saw the deity covered with dirt and grass, they were all struck with wonder and pleasure. After they had cleansed the body of the deity, some of them said, "The deity is very heavy. No single person can move him." Since the deity was very heavy, some of the stronger men assembled to carry him to the top of the hill. Madhevendra Puri also went there. A big stone was made into a throne, and the deity was installed upon it. Another big stone was placed behind the deity for support. All the Brahmana priests of the village gathered together with 9 water pots, and water from Govindakund lake was brought there and filtered. When the deity was being installed, 900 pots of water were brought from Govindakund. There were musical sounds of bugles and drums and the singing of women. During the festival, at the installation ceremony, some people sang and some danced. All the milk, yogurt and clarified butter in the village were brought to the festival. Various foods and sweetmeats as well as other kinds of presentations were brought there. I am unable to describe all these. The villagers brought a large quantity of tulsi leaves, flowers and various kinds of garments. Then Sri Madhevendra Puri personally began the Abhishek, bathing ceremony. After all inauspicious things were driven away by the chanting of the mantra, the deity's bathing ceremony started. First, the deity was massaged with a large quantity of oil so that his body became very glossy. After the first bathing, further bathings were conducted with Panchagavya and then with Panchamrita. Then the Mahasnan was performed with ghee and water, which had been brought in 100 pots. After the Mahasnan was finished, the deity was again massaged with scented oil and his body made glossy. Then the last bathing ceremony was performed with scented water kept within a conch shell. After the body of the deity was cleansed, he was dressed very nicely with new garments. Then sandalwood pulp, tulsi garlands and other fragrant flower garlands were placed upon the body of the deity. After the bathing ceremony was finished, incense and lamps were burnt and all kinds of food offered before the deity. These foods included yogurt, milk and as many sweetmeats as were received. The deity was first offered many varieties of food, then scented drinking water in new pots, and then water for washing the mouth. Finally, pan mixed with a variety of spices was offered. After the last offering of tambula and pan, bhoga aratik was performed. Finally, everyone offered various prayers and then obeisances, falling flat before the deity in full surrender.
Thank you so much. So this is the next lesson in selfless service. When one situates one's heart in such a way that we want to serve selflessly, it becomes a team effort. Right? There's a really interesting text 52 in this said, no single person could lift Krishna. Krishna was so heavy, no single person could lift him. We're just now coming, we're going to go to it. There we go. After they had cleansed the body of the deity, some of them said, the deity is very heavy. No single person can move him. If we want to move Krishna, it's a team effort. And we're trying to move Krishna. We're trying to move Krishna into the core of our hearts, into the core of other people's hearts also. And you can't do it alone. If we go now right back to the beginning of what I was speaking about, this idea of Sangha, it's so important. It's emphasized so much by Acharyas. That you have to surround yourselves with like-minded people. You have to surround yourselves with the devotees of the Lord who are all aspiring for the same thing as you, which is pure service to Krishna. Because it's a team effort. No single person can move him. I mean, that really jumped out at me. Like, if I think I can do it, I can forge my way, go on my own. I don't need to come to the temple. I don't need to have any friends who are devotees. Forget it. I can do it. I can go to Krishna. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. And what's really interesting is that Madhevendra Puri was on his own. You know, he's a mendicant, sannyasi, just traveling. He was sitting there in Govindakund, and then Krishna came and said, look, I'm this deity, I'm in this bush, please, you know. And there's another interesting verse, like, they went to rescue Krishna. They went to rescue Krishna. But he didn't think, I'm just going to do this by myself. Krishna gave me some service and forget everyone else. I'm not going to consult with anyone. I'm just going to go, I'm going to pull the deity out, I'm going to put it on top of this hill, and I'm just going to do my seva. Another element of selfless service is that it's a team effort. We have to do it together. Because we help one another progress in that way. And so Madhevendra Puri, the first thing he did was he took a bath, it said. But then he went to the villagers and said, hey, Gopal is in the bush. And everyone, because he was so selfless, another lesson here, because he wasn't wanting anything from it, it wasn't about him. It was about serving Krishna together, conjointly, in a community. Everyone said, okay, let's go. Like, no one said, well, hold on a minute. How do you know this? Are there snakes out there? I don't know if I want to go. They all just went together, let's go. Here's Krishna, and it's time to bring Krishna out. And so I think for ISV particularly, this is a very poignant point. Because you're all going out. And, you know, in one sense, you're not trying to rescue Krishna from the bushes. You're trying to give Krishna to other people and rescue other people. But it's the same principle is true. It's a team effort. Have you ever, like, I haven't distributed books for a long time, I'll be honest. I feel embarrassed saying that in this room. But when I used to, like, cold London. Anyone ever been to London? There's a street called Oxford Street. You can ask Madhevendra Puri next time you see him. It's called the Ox. We used to call it the Ox. It's called riding the ox. And it was miserable. And when I used to go out by myself, I used to honestly at least 10 times be like, why am I doing this? But when I would go out with a group of people, that never really crossed my mind. Because when I was struggling and books weren't going out, someone would come up to me and say, hey, come on. Yeah, man, just keep going. And that's selfless service. When you're doing something selflessly, you have to do it together. Because it's going to be difficult at times. We're not at the level of Madhevendra Puri yet. We're trying to get there. That's the ideal we're striving for. Let's go there together. Let's help one another get there. So it's a team effort. Don't just think, yeah, this is my service and I don't need to talk to anyone else. Forget it. I'm just going to... So that was an interesting point, I think, here, of just seeing how his heart was so pure and he was so selfless that he was able to bring people together. And it doesn't say in the CC. And then they started arguing about who should be in charge. And they started to talk about, like, no, you should do it this way. This is the process. No, look at my Google sheet. No, look at my Google Doc. They were able to conjointly do it because Madhevendra Puri was so selfless. They all thought, okay, we're going to follow him. He's the leader, and we're just going to follow. We have faith in him. So now we're going to go on. Who else had their hand up when I asked for readers? Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So we're going to do now from 67 to 90 on the next section of this pastime unfolding.
As soon as the people of the village had understood that the deity was going to be installed, they had brought their entire stacks of rice, dal and wheat flour. They brought such large quantities that the entire surface of the top of the hill was filled. When the villagers brought their stack of rice, dal and flour, the potters of the village brought all kinds of cooking pots, and in the morning the cooking began. 10 brahmanas cooked the food grains and 5 brahmanas cooked the dry and liquid vegetables. The vegetable preparations were made from various kinds of spinach, roots and fruits collected from the forest, and someone made bara and bari by mashing dal. In this way the brahmanas prepared all kinds of food. 5 to 7 men prepared huge quantities of chapatis, which were completely covered with ghee, clarified butter, as were all vegetables, rice and dal. All the cooked rice was stacked on palash leaves, which were on new clothes spread over the ground. Around the stack of cooked rice were stacks of chapatis, and all the vegetables and liquid vegetables preparations were placed in different pots and put around them. Pots of yogurt, milk, buttermilk, and shikharini, sweet rice, cream and solid cream were placed alongside the vegetables. In this way, the Annakut ceremony was performed, and Madhevendra Puri Goswami personally offered everything to Gopal. Many water pots were filled with scented water for drinking, and Lord Sri Gopal, who had been hungry for many days, ate everything offered to him. Although Sri Gopal ate everything offered, still by the touch of his transcendental hand, everything remained as before. How Gopal ate everything while the food remained the same was transcendentally perceived by Madhevendra Puri Goswami. Nothing remains a secret to the devotees of the Lord. The wonderful festival and installation of Sri Gopalji was arranged in one day. Certainly all this was accomplished by the potency of Gopal. No one but a devotee can understand this. Madhevendra Puri offered water to Gopal for washing his mouth, and he gave him betel nuts to chew. Then while Arati was performed, all the people chanted, Jai, Jai, all glories to Gopal. Arranging for the Lord's rest, Sri Madhevendra Puri brought a new cot, and over this he spread a new bedspread, and thus made the bed ready. A temporary temple was constructed by covering the bed all around with a straw mattress. Thus there was a bed and a straw mattress to cover it. After Lord was laid down to rest on the bed, Madhevendra Puri gathered all the Brahmanas who had prepared the prasadam and said to them, "Now feed everyone sumptuously, from the children on up to the aged." All the people gathered there sat down to honor the prasadam, and by they took food. All the Brahmanas and their wives were fed first. Those who took prasadam included not only the people of Govardhan village, but also those who came from other villages. They also saw the deity of Gopal and were offered prasadam to eat. Seeing the influence of Madhevendra Puri, all the people gathered there were struck with wonder. They saw that the Annakut ceremony, which had been performed before during the time of Krishna, was now taking place again by the mercy of Sri Madhevendra Puri. All the Brahmanas present on that occasion were initiated by Madhevendra Puri into the Vaishnava cult, and Madhevendra Puri engaged them in different types of service. After taking rest, the deity must be awakened at the end of the day, and immediately some food and some water must be offered to him. When it was advertised throughout the country that Lord Gopal had appeared atop Govardhan hill, all the people from neighboring villages came to see the deity. One village after another was pleased to beg Madhevendra Puri to allot them one day to perform the Annakut ceremony. Thus, day after day, the Annakut ceremony was performed for some time.
Thank you, Prabhu. So next lesson in selfless service. Krishna will arrange everything that's needed. So it's really interesting if you read this section now. Madhevendra Puri, again, we can say was a mendicant, had nothing, wouldn't even beg food for himself. But because he was so selfless, Krishna reveals himself. And now you read, it's quite opulent. Everything, there's a list of what was offered, the ghee's coming, all the grains, everything. And this is another result. When you're selfless in your service, Krishna will start to arrange everything that you need for that service to be complete, for you to perform that service. And here's what's interesting to me. This is in Vrindavan, this is in Govardhan. And Madhevendra Puri, he's coming to teach us the highest performance of love, which is following in the footsteps of the Braja Gopis. And so we can understand, what is the Vrindavan mood here? What is the mood of the residents of Vrindavan? Village after village, every village stepped forward. Interesting, last one. One village after another was pleased to beg Madhevendra Puri to allot them one day to perform the Annakut ceremony. They were pleased. It was like joyful. Oh, I can serve? Yes, this is really joyful for me. Another symptom of selfless service. Krishna says in the Gita, Susakam Kartamaviyam, that this is the king of all knowledge, the most secret of everything, the most confidential thing ever, and it's joyfully performed. Devotional service is joyfully performed. And if you're selfless, and if you're not selfless, then you start to think, well, I performed this and no one recognized me for it. And no one patted me on the back. And no one said, hey, great dressing today, Prabhu. Or hey, man, that prasad, that was really great. And then you start to feel like, well, devotional service isn't that joyful, actually. I'm doing this service, and yet I'm not getting what I need. But if you're selfless, then you understand, I'm getting exactly what I need, because what I'm getting is devotional service. And that is the deepest need of my soul. And that's the Vrindavan mood. Village after village, engaging everyone. Again, another lesson in selfless service. You will inspire other people to also become selfless. You will become the example for other people to follow. This is why it's so important. Whatever you do, you work somewhere in, whatever company you work for, because you're carrying that mood in your heart, other people will become affected. You will vibrate out some radiation that's going to capture their hearts too. And also, just going deeper on the Vrindavan mood, it's explained in these verses that they gave everything. Every village, they brought their entire stock of grains, entire stock of ghee. It wasn't like, yeah, we can give Krishna, just there's 2 bags of old dal I haven't used yet. Let's take that to Krishna. Everything, didn't hold anything back. That's the Vrindavan mood. That's selfless service. Everything for you, nothing for me. I'm doing this for you, Krishna. I'm going to give you the best of everything. Not just the worst of everything, that I don't want to deal with, but the best of everything. And again, this is Madhevendra Puri. He is bringing this out in these villages. They're seeing him and they are becoming enthusiastic too. Again, a really important lesson in Sangha. Surround yourselves with people who have that mood of serving selflessly, and you will also become enthusiastic to serve. It will protect you. And I know we're not all there yet. I'm not there. I'm not like, yeah, 100%, here's my bank account detail, Temple ISV, here's my credit card. No way. Not yet. But at least I have in mind, this is where we're supposed to be heading. And it's important, again, to have the goal in mind, because if you don't know your goal, you don't know how to get there. So village after village, giving everything. This is the Vrindavan mood. And sometimes it said, Krishna, he's not looking at what you're giving, he's looking at what you're holding back. Right? So I'll talk to you all afterwards, you can tell me. And then just to the next verse. This is really interesting. I'll read this one because it's just one verse. Sri Madhevendra Puri did not eat anything throughout the day, but at night, after laying the deity down to rest, he took a milk preparation. It wasn't this ego trip from Madhevendra Puri. Look at this. Look at how many people I've gathered around me. Now I've got this temple. Great. Everyone, bring me the Mahaprasad plate. It's explained. He fed the brahmanas and the wives and the children first. And then he made sure everyone else was fed. And then he fasted throughout the whole day. And at the end, he would just take a little milk preparation. Everything for Krishna and everything to serve everyone else. I'm not doing this to serve my own needs. Another lesson in selfless service. When you become selfless in your service, all you're interested in is service. You're interested in serving others, not having yourself be served. And I'm just going to add this as a little outline here. Madhevendra Puri wasn't like a young man. He wasn't like a strapping 27-year-old who goes to the gym every day. He was an old man. Like some people say he was in his 90s. I'm like in my 30s and I'm like, man, when are people going to start serving me? He's there in his 90s. Like it's explained, he's initiated all these people who have come to him. He's the guru. Yet he's taking so much care. Another lesson in selfless service, and we should understand this. This is a really fundamental point. Our job is to care for the devotees. He made sure everyone else was fed. Did everyone get prasad? Did they get enough? Was the service done nicely? Is everyone okay? And then at night, after everything else was done, that's responsibility. And when you take responsibility in your spiritual life, you'll taste the greatest joy. This little milk preparation that we're told, Madhevendra Puri is relishing this deeply because he is selfless. So I just looked at the time. Every time I come, I'm like, 2 hours is way too long. How am I going to speak for 2 hours? And I'm like on page 2 of my notes, and I had 6 pages of notes. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give you the overview. And if you want to read the verses, you can come and I'll tell you which ones to read afterwards. But read the whole chapter because it's great. And so I'm just going to move forward here. And you can put on the screen verse 106. So after all this service is going on, all these villages are inspired. Each village now, every day, the service is going on and on and on. Every day, uninterrupted, unhindered. Madhevendra Puri has another dream. He has very dangerous dreams, Like some of us have dreams and we call them nightmares. Madhevendra Puri has his dreams and Krishna comes to him. And what does Krishna do when he comes to him in his dream? Hey, I need some service. So in this verse, 106, in his dream, Madhevendra Puri saw Gopal, who said, "My bodily temperature still has not decreased. Please bring sandalwood from the Malaya province and smear the pulp over my body to cool me." And so here's Madhevendra Puri. Krishna comes to him, unearths the deity, they build this temple, he's engaged everyone, all these villages are now engaged. It's explained every single day the ceremony goes on, and Krishna says, your service isn't complete. It's just beginning. But this is an important lesson for us too. Krishna now gives him some new service. And it's not, the next few verses, which I'll just skip through, it's explained that then Madhevendra Puri made sure everything was arranged for the service to continue, and then he leaves to go get the sandalwood. Another lesson in selfless service. When you're selflessly serving, it doesn't mean you become neglectful. Sometimes, we think being a devotee means to be carefree, but it doesn't mean to be careless. And there's a big difference there. To be carefree means I'm going to endeavor, I'm going to try my hardest, I'm going to do everything that I can possibly do in my service, and then the result's up to Krishna. Careless means I don't care what I do, I'm just going to do it half-hearted, I'm not really going to put all my effort in. And Madhevendra Puri wasn't that. This is an example of his selfless service. I'm leaving, everything's going on every single day, but I'm going to make sure okay, you're in charge, take care of it, and I'm going. And again, we can underscore, Madhevendra Puri was an old man at this time. He was in Vrindavan, and he had to go and get sandalwood from Jagannath Puri. Some of you have been on the yatra with ISV, yes? Did you ever take the train from Bhubaneswara to Mayapur? It's intense, isn't it? And that's just from Bhubaneswara to Mayapur. It's like an overnight train. Madhevendra Puri had to leave Vrindavan. It wasn't that like now, he's the guru, he has all the disciples, he's going to get in his AC 4x4, they're going to drive him from Vrindavan to the Delhi airport, he's going to get on a first-class Air India flight, fly to Bhubaneswar, get in another air-conditioned 4x4 SUV, and then drive, get the sandalwood, tell them to ship it back to Vrindavan, then go back to the airport and get his flight back. He had to walk from Vrindavan to Puri. If you're interested in this, look at a map of India and look at how far away they are. This is months and months of walking. And when is this happening? It's happening in the summer. Gopal saying, it's hot. I need sandalwood. The height of it, he has to walk through the forest, through the desert, through everything, as an old man. And it's really interesting. He didn't say, well, hold on a minute. I have all these disciples here who are quite young, and I have all these followers, and now I'm the head, and I'm going to tell you, you go, pick up the sandalwood. No, he took it on himself. This is my responsibility. I have to go. That's leadership in Krishna consciousness. I will go, I'll do it. I'm not going to ask anyone to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And so, the other interesting point here that I see is, could you imagine Krishna reveals himself to you? He says, I'm hidden in the bushes, take me out and build this temple for me. And he creates this opulent temple. And then Krishna comes and says, now you have to leave. And Madhevendra Puri says, okay, no problem. Because Madhevendra Puri was another lesson in selfless service. He wasn't attached to the place. He wasn't attached to the position or the power or the authority that he had. He was attached to the service. And when he heard, oh, there's more service to be done? Yeah, no problem. I'll do it. That's my attachment. And so then he goes on his journey. And after many months, he's traveling. And he arrives on his way to Puri in a place called Raimuna. This is where the story began. With Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, the first place he visits after leaving Shantipur is Raimuna. Madhevendra Puri, after doing all of this in Vrindavan, leaves and he arrives in Raimuna. It's interesting also, we're all trying to get to Vrindavan. Madhevendra Puri was asked to leave Vrindavan and he did it happily. It's kind of an interesting point. And so just on this last point of him being attached to service, again, we're not, at least I can speak for myself, I'm not completely surrendered, I'm not completely selfless. In fact, I'm, millions of lifetimes away from that. So for us in our conditioned state, we can think of service in two ways. And there's many different types of service, but we can think in two broad categories. One is service that provides inspiration. And then the other is service that provides purification. And both are needed. You have services that will inspire you. Yes, I want to do this for Krishna. Yes, I'm going to do that. And then you have other services that will purify you. And you have to have both. Especially in our stages, or at least in my stage. Because if it's all inspiration, I'm only going to do what inspires me, Prabhu. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that, because that's not my inspiration. Well, you know what happens? I've observed this. I've observed it in myself. I've seen this. You start to become arrogant. You start to think, yeah, you know what? I do know a few things about this Krishna consciousness stuff. I'm a kind of advanced devotee now. Because you never butt up against things that will push you out of your comfort zone. And so you may be operating from the paradigm of your own material conditioning and mistaking that for Krishna consciousness. You may be thinking, I'm advanced, but the only thing you're really advanced in is utilizing your material desires and kind of dressing them up to be spiritual. So if it's all inspiration, you have the danger of becoming arrogant. And if it's all purification, you'll be like, man, why did I come to this temple? I'm out of here. So you have to balance both. And as you go through your spiritual lives, you'll see that the balance will shift from time to time. Sometimes you need things that are more inspiring. Sometimes you need things that are a bit more purifying. And what happens as you advance and you become selfless, just like Madhevendra Puri, is you realize, actually everything's inspiration. Whether I have to clean the pots or sweep the parking lot or I'm giving the class or I'm dressing the deities, whatever it is, everything's inspiring me. Because I start to realize everything's for Krishna. Nothing's for me. Selfless service. So now, Madhevendra Puri, he arrives in Raimuna. And he comes to this temple. And we read this earlier. It wasn't a famous temple. It was just Gopinath's temple. It becomes famous later on. He comes to this temple of Gopinath and he sees the deity and he's just in such ecstasy seeing this deity. And he starts to think, another point of selfless service. He's outside of his home temple. He's somewhere else and he's looking at the temple and he's observing and he's thinking, what do they do here that I can take back with me and do for Gopal? I'm here with Gopinath and yet my mind and my heart are still with Gopal. And so he's thinking in this way, he's thinking, I wonder what they offer him. I wonder what they offer to, what do they cook and offer to Gopinath? His mind is so absorbed. He's always thinking of service. And so he asks one of the pujaris. And the pujari says, we cook this sweet rice. And he says, they don't make it anywhere else in the world. We heard this earlier from Prabhu. I don't know where he went. But we heard this earlier. They don't make it. You can't describe it. You won't find it anywhere else in the world. I really recommend anytime you go to India, if you're going to be in Jagannath Puri, go to Remuna and try this. It'll blow your mind. It'll blow your socks off if you're wearing socks. Depends what time of year you go. You may not be. So he's hearing about this, and the pujari saying, yeah, we cook this sweet rice and we offer it, and it's offered in 12 earthen pots, and it's not made anywhere else in the world. And while he's telling Madhevendra Puri this, they're putting the offering on the altar. And Madhevendra Puri, he stops and he feels something in his heart. And in the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami, he tells us that he feels ashamed. This is Madhevendra Puri. Krishna appeared to him. Krishna personally brought him milk. Krishna is personally coming to him in dreams. And yet he's feeling ashamed. And why is he feeling ashamed? Because he's realizing, I'm trying to enjoy something that hasn't even been offered to Krishna yet. So it's explained that he becomes silent and he leaves the place. Actually, there's one verse that I wanted to point out, which is 120. This will just show you some of the mindset that Madhevendra Puri was in. So this is Madhevendra Puri. He's hearing about this sweet rice, and this is what he says to himself. He's talking to himself internally. If without my asking, isn't that a great way to preface something? If without my asking, a little sweet rice is given to me, I can then taste it and make a similar preparation to offer my Lord Gopal. He's so selfless that any thought, even a hint, a trace of trying to enjoy something before it's been offered to Krishna, he becomes ashamed. He's just devastated. Why did I think like that? And Kaviraj Goswami explains that Madhevendra Puri then becomes silent. He sees the arti. He offers his respects to Gopinath. He bows down and he leaves the temple. And he goes to some vacant marketplace and he's sitting there to take his rest. And he's still feeling, why did I tried to enjoy something that was meant for Krishna. It's again, a lesson in selfless service. What we do on our devotional lives, as we progressively become purified, we should understand more and more we're doing this for Krishna. I'm not doing this for me. I'm not doing this so I can get some taste. I'm interested in Krishna's taste. And if by Krishna's mercy, he gives me some taste, I'll gladly accept it. And I don't want to give away the rest of the story, but we'll hear what happens next. So anyway, Madhevendra Puri is there. He's sitting in the marketplace. He's feeling bad, and he begins to meditate upon Krishna, upon Gopal. And the pujari of the Gopinath temple, he's asleep. And guess what happens? It's really interesting. He has a dream. I'm telling you, dreams are really dangerous. You should really be tired when you go to bed, and you won't dream so much. But he has this dream. And lo and behold, who appears to him in the dream? Gopinath. This Krishna, he really knows how to get to people. Even when you're asleep. It's like joining the mafia. You can never leave. Even in your sleep, they'll capture you. So he's asleep and Gopinath appears to him and says, hey, you know that sannyasi that came, that Madhevendra Puri? Well, I kept one of the pots of sweet rice for him. I hid it from you. I put it behind some translations say he put it behind the curtain. Others say he put it under his dhoti or dress. And he says, so please go and get that. I kept it especially for him. So you please go and get that sweet rice and find this Madhevendra Puri and deliver it to him personally. Really interesting. Actually, I'll tell one thing before I tell the interesting thing. Also interesting. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, the next few verses, which I'll tell you about later. You can figure out which ones. He explains that the pujari wakes up. And do you know what he does? So just imagine this. You've had a dream. The deities that you worship have just come to you in the dream and said, I stole this pot of sweet rice and I'm keeping it for this very special devotee. Go and give it to him. What's the first thing you're going to do when you wake up? You're going to run to the temple and grab that sweet rice. The pujari takes a bath. He takes a bath. He still follows. Even though Krishna's coming to him personally saying, this is happening, go and do this. He still follows the etiquette. We see this again in the pastime of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For 7 days, Mahaprabhu just doesn't speak. He follows the etiquette. He could say, hey, I'm Krishna. You know, you can talk all this Vedanta, but I'm Krishna. Do you know who I am? Plus, I was Nimai Pandit. Like, I know all of this. And I'm a sannyasi. But he didn't. He followed the etiquette. And so this is really interesting to me, at least. The pujari wakes up and takes a bath. To me, if Krishna came to me in a dream, I'd wake up and be like, oh my God, I have to tell, let me go on Facebook and post it. Krishna came to me in a dream. The first thing wouldn't be, okay, I'm going to take a bath, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to put my tilak, I'm going to like chant my Gayatri, and then I'm going to go to... But this is what the pujari does. He follows the etiquette. So anyway, he goes to the temple, he finds the sweet rice. And now he has to find Madhevendra Puri. And Krishna's tricky, you know. Krishna doesn't make it like he wants you to work for the service. Because Krishna could have said, hey, I stole this sweet rice from Madhevendra Puri. If you go to such and such a marketplace, go to the third stall, lift up the curtain, go behind it, and that's where he's going to be. He doesn't say that. He says, here's a sweet rice, find Madhevendra Puri and give it to him. So now the pujari has to endeavor to find Madhevendra Puri. And so he goes out through the village and he's screaming, where is Madhevendra Puri? Where is this fortunate soul, Madhevendra Puri? Gopinath has stolen a pot of sweet rice for you. You know? He's going through the village. Everyone's asleep. So when you're asleep and you start hearing loud noises, you kind of wake up a little and go, what? What's going on? And everyone starts hearing this. Madhevendra Puri, Gopinath stole this sweet rice for you. And Madhevendra Puri also hears it and he goes and says, what's going on here? And the pujari explains what happened. Gopinath came to me in a dream. He stole this for you. And now this is for you. It's explained one of the verses. I can't remember which one now. But anyway, one of the verses is explained that the pujari bows down to Madhevendra Puri because he's like, wow, you must be something very special. That Gopinath, you know, can you imagine, I've been serving here for so many years. Gopinath's never stolen sweet rice for me. You just show up. You're a tourist from out of town. You start asking me all these questions and then you disappear and Gopinath steals a sweet rice for you. Another lesson in selfless service. Right? In the beginning of this pastime, he's selfless and Krishna brings milk to him. Here, he's selfless, even though he's feeling bad, that his service, he didn't do it quite so purely. Krishna, and the verse explains, Krishna felt obligated. Krishna felt so obligated that I have to give this to him. He wanted it so sincerely, I'm going to give it to him. Another lesson in selfless service, you will capture Krishna. Right? I said earlier, everything's about relationship. Relationships are reciprocal. Because he's serving Krishna selflessly, Krishna feels like, I have to serve you. This is a beautiful book by Shivaram Swami, Na Parayaham. I cannot repay you. It's Krishna speaking to the gopis. You've done so much for me, I cannot repay you. Same thing with Madhevendra Puri. You've done so much for me. You left, you know, first you uncovered me, and then you built this temple for me. Then you came all this way to get this sandalwood. And just some hint that you had in your heart that you were trying to enjoy something without me, and you felt so bad. Hey, but it's okay. Right? Beautiful, isn't it? We can all pray and meditate. We can pray to Madhevendra Puri that one day Krishna brings us some milk or some sweet rice. Even if he doesn't, though, it's okay. We should just carry on serving. And that's the point of this class, is that we should be selfless in our service. So anyway, Madhevendra Puri, it's explained he relishes. This is a really interesting point, actually, if I can find the notes. Okay, so Madhevendra Puri, he relishes this sweet rice. The pujari pays his obeisances and the pujari leaves. And then it's explained, Madhevendra Puri takes those, anyone who's ever been to Ramuna, or if you ever go to Ramuna, they serve it in these like clay pots, and it's about this big. It's like the size of a baseball, and it's made of clay. And so Madhevendra Puri, after he takes the sweet rice, it's explained, he takes the pot, and he breaks it, and he ties the pot in his cloth. And every day, he'd take a piece of the pot, and he'd break it, and he would eat it. Now imagine this, after the class, you'll all wake up again, because your prasad will be served. And when prasad is being served, imagine you're sitting with someone, and you're talking and taking prasad, and then after they finish the prasad, they take their Dixie paper plate, and then they fold it up, and then they tie it in their cloth. And then a few days later, you see them again. They happen to be at the temple, maybe on a Wednesday. And, they're early, because somehow we're early sometimes. And you see them open up their cloth, and they take out this paper plate from Sunday, and they tear off a piece of the paper plate, and then they eat it. You would start to think, wow, this person's kind of crazy. I'm not going to take prasad with this devotee again. But this is Madhevendra Puri. He's seeing Krishna everywhere. But this is what I took from this little section, and please entertain me for a second. And think what, tell me what you think of this. This is my realization. The clay pot was carrying the prasad. So for Madhevendra Puri, the clay pot itself became worshipable. It became sacred to him. Prasad, we know, can mean mercy. Right? So this is where my mind went. The devotees of the Lord, going back now, here's Mahaprabhu glorifying a devotee. We're told time and time again, glorify the devotee, associate with the devotees. The devotees of the Lord carry the mercy of Krishna within their hearts. Right? So just like Madhevendra Puri, we shouldn't eat the devotees. Don't do that, because we're vegetarians. That's against our principles. But we should feast every day. Just like Madhevendra Puri was breaking off a piece of the pot and eating it, we ourselves should feast every day on some devotee association. We should understand that devotee is carrying the mercy of Krishna within their heart. So let me every day try and take a piece of that and consume it and bring it deep into my consciousness and into my being. What do you think of that? Does that sound good? And it's so easy these days with technology. My very best friend in the world, we used to live together as brahmacharis. We used to sleep literally like this next to each other for years. And then he left and went to India, and I left and came to America. He's still a brahmachari. And I haven't seen him since 2012. I think we're in 2019 now, yeah? So 7 years I haven't seen him. But I make it a point that every single day, I go for a walk every day. He lives in Mauritius. I live here in the Bay Area. We're I think 8 or 9 hours apart. Every morning I go for a walk, and I make it a point that every single day I will call him. And sometimes he picks up and sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he calls me at night, and I pick up sometimes or I don't. But every single day we either exchange a message or we leave each other a voice message. So you have WhatsApp, you have Skype, you got texts, you got, if you're really up there and you're a mystic, you can just send it through the ether with your consciousness. But just like Madhevendra Puri would break off a piece of the pot every day and eat it because it carried the prasad of the Lord, the devotees who carry the prasad of the Lord in the form of their mercy, somehow or other, make this a point of your life to try and connect with a devotee every single day. Because we all work jobs where they say it's 8 hours or 9 hours a day, but really it's 12 hours a day, plus the commute, plus all the other things you have to do to please your boss and whatever else. Your time is so limited, right? It's not like the days of yore where we could all just be here forever. I would really like that. If anyone wants to stay later, just let me know. We could just stay here and we could just talk all night. But because we can't do that, because we have such little free time, make this a point every single day to try and connect with a devotee. And this is what I took away from Madhevendra Puri taking this pot of sweet rice. It carried the mercy of the Lord, and so every day he wanted to relish that. And the devotees carry the mercy of the Lord, and every day we should try and relish that. So anyway, let's explain. The next day the sun comes up, Madhevendra Puri, before the sun comes up even, he's sitting there and he's thinking, I'm in big trouble. I was in trouble yesterday, because yesterday I was thinking about eating the sweet rice before it was offered. And I'm in trouble today, because everyone heard this pujari come out and say, Madhevendra Puri, you're so fortunate. Gopinath stole this sweet rice for you. And it's actually said in the page of the CC that Madhevendra Puri wanted to run away from pratishta, fame, adoration, being worshipped, respected. And the page of the CC explained, because he thought this will hinder my service. Crowds will start to gather around me and this will hinder my service. Another example of selfless service. Anything that hinders my service, I'm not interested. Right? What are we told? Accept that which is favorable and reject that which isn't favorable. So he could see this pratishta. It's going to hinder my service. So he was running away from pratishta. But here I am, and I'm running towards pratishta. I'm thinking, hey man, this class is going pretty well right now. I mean, afterwards, maybe a lot of these people will come to me and tell me how great I am. Right? I'm running towards pratishta. Most of us are running towards pratishta. We want to be recognized. We want to be celebrated and worshipped. Here's Madhevendra Puri. Krishna appeared to him 4 different times. Personally brought him milk, stole sweet rice for him, and he's so afraid of pratishta, he's running away. I'm going to get out of here before the sun comes up, because this is going to hinder my service. And it's fascinating to me. That's the danger of becoming attached to the fruits that come along with your service. And one who's situated in selfless service, they're not interested in that. I'm just interested in my service. Just let me go about the service in that way. Don't give me all these other things that will distract me. So he was seeing this as a distraction. Time is ticking. So anyway, Madhevendra Puri, he wakes up before everyone else. He leaves the village. He runs away. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to try and take that fame. I want to glorify Krishna. So then he runs to, and finally he gets to Jagannath Puri. And he gets to Jagannath Puri, and The fame got there before him. I don't know how they did that because they didn't have Facebook or Twitter back then, but somehow the message got there before him that this is Madhevendra Puri, Gopinath stole the sweet rice for him. So anyway, Madhevendra Puri now, all the devotees hearing about Gopal wanting the chandan, they start arranging this chandan for him. And they arrange it. And Madhevendra Puri now, with this arrangement of the chandan, it took him months to get there. Now he has to go all the way back to Vrindavan. And he does it. And there's one verse later on in this section where it's explained that with the burden of the sandalwood, Madhevendra Puri begins his journey back to Vrindavan. Interesting use of words, right? Burden. But it was a burden of love. But we can say, symbolically, it was a burden. It was like, pounds and pounds of this sandalwood. He's an old man. He has to now carry it all the way back. So anyway, on his journey back, he happens once again to stop in Raimuna. And he stays there, and he goes to sleep. And guess what happens when he goes to sleep? There's a theme here. He has a dream. And guess who's in the dream? Gopal. Gopal comes to him in a dream. Krishna comes to him in a dream again. Again, really dangerous. And I'm thinking, oh man, what service is coming from Madhevendra Puri? But what Gopal says is, Madhevendra Puri, look at what you're doing for me. Look at how much you've done for me. And now you're traveling back with this burden of sandalwood, all the way back to Vrindavan. But you don't have to come all the way back to Vrindavan. Just stay here and grind this sandalwood and offer it to Gopinath. Because Gopal, Gopinath, we're the same, no difference. And this is really interesting, because in one sense, if you look at it externally, he did not complete the service, right? He had to bring that chandan back to Vrindavan, but he didn't complete it. The lesson here is, in selfless service, that the actual success is not in the external completion of a service or in the external measurement of the service. The actual success is in the selfless intention of performing the service. That's what Madhevendra Puri had. And just sitting here now, it makes me think of one verse from the Gita, in which Krishna says, I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. Madhevendra Puri, you're an old man, and you've done a great job. And you never said no. Any service I asked of you, you took it on. I'm going to relieve you now of your burden of carrying this sandalwood. You don't have to bring this back to Vrindavan. You've already done it. You've already achieved success. You were successful before you began. You were successful while you were doing it, and you're successful now. Because the true success is that you surrendered completely to me. The true success is that you serve me selflessly, untainted, unadulterated, no mixed motivations. And that's the lesson of Madhevendra Puri in this pastime. When you become selfless, Krishna will personally take care of you. Krishna will personally come into your life and relieve you of your burdens. Because he cares about you that much. One thing I missed that I didn't speak about, see, I'm terrible at following my notes, is that when Krishna came to Madhevendra Puri in the dream the first time and revealed the Gopal deity to him, he said, I've been waiting for you. I've been wondering, when are you going to come, Madhevendra Puri? I've just been waiting for you. That's selfless service. Krishna's waiting for all of us, every single one of us. Those who are sitting here and those who are not sitting here. Those who have heard of Krishna and those who have never heard of Krishna. Krishna is sitting here waiting. Hey, when are you going to come? And we see this in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Right? I think it's Gopakumar, right? He gets back to Vrindavan. And when he's walking down the path, he sees this like dust cloud coming. And he's just kind of bewildered. And then he sees as he gets closer, there's a crowd of people there. And there's these cows. And there's Krishna with a garland. And this beautiful painting of this. Krishna puts a garland on Gopakumar and he hugs him. He said, finally you've come back to me. Every lifetime, I was just waiting. Is this the lifetime he's going to come back to me? Every single lifetime, and you finally came back to me. Krishna's waiting for all of us. And so, don't feel bad if you're not selfless or surrendered, because I'm not either. We're in good company. At least I think I'm good company. I don't know. But the point is, wherever you are, the Bhagavatam tells you, whether you're no motivations, ill-motivated, whatever it may be, you just orient yourself towards service. Try and situate your life as much as you can to serving. Because to whatever degree you're surrendered, to whatever degree you're selfless, Krishna will recognize that. And that is the formula for becoming completely selfless, becoming completely surrendered. And then, Just like Gopakumar, just like Madhevendra Puri, one day Krishna will be in front of you and he will say, I've been waiting for you. I've just been here waiting for you. Here I am. I'm just waiting for you. And it's all from service. We can trace this back now. Thematically. It started with Madhevendra Puri sitting in Govindakund, meditating, chanting. And it ends with him service after service after service. The perfection of selfless service isn't now, I did my selfless service, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to relax, come here and fan me. Service brings more service, and that's the perfection. That's what Krishna wants to see from us. And we can do that without seeing Krishna. We can do that right now without him appearing to us in a dream. We can do that right now even if we're not selfless. And if we start doing that right now, today, to whatever extent we can, it's just a matter of time that Krishna will be bringing you milk and sweet rice. And not only stealing the sweet rice for you, but he'll also steal your heart. And that's what we want. And that's the lesson of Madhevendra Puri. And I pray deeply and as purely as I can that Madhevendra Puri, he blesses all of us to take on this lesson or these lessons from him so that we can start to inch towards selfless service one day. Hey, and I can't make it alone. I'm counting on all of you. So I'm going to be here next week. Please be here too, because maybe one day we can get there together. Thank you all so much. It's always a pleasure to be here. We have, I believe, 10 minutes left for any questions, corrections, chastisements, comments. Yes, bro.
Hare Krishna Guruji, thank you for the very wonderful class. There are so many beautiful lessons from the class. I feel it's really, as you said, there are so many points that you can't come to end of your notes. I can't ever imagine that actually digesting so many points, rather how you prepared so much in 3 hours. It's so amazing. I really like the point where you said that Krishna's mercy we give out to the souls. It's like Goloka Premadhan, and it's packaged. I like that analogy. It's packaged in my own conditioning, and my sadhana actually unpacks that conditioning, and then I can see what I have been given is the greatest gift. So that's really nice, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
We can thank Narottam Das Thakur for writing that line. Yeah, it's there, day one, the holy name. It's Krishna fully. We just can't understand it because it's like our eyes are closed, We just have to open our eyes and it's like, oh, Krishna Prema, here it is. Please.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class. Just today in the morning, I was hearing one lecture by Radhesham Prabhuji, and I'm able to relate to Madhevendra Puri's selfless service. That in the lecture he mentioned how untimely service you get more mercy, and he brought out the example like, say, a pujari has Tuesday or Saturday service, and then someone calls up that you need to come, and then. And he said like how more mercy comes from Krishna. It's actually a mercy that Krishna is giving more service, and we can see how Madhevendra Puri also, it was all untimely services. Like suddenly in a dream, Gopal says that I need chandan that you need to bring.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful point. And I've heard that the amount of mercy you get from your service is in direct relation to the need of that service being performed. Right? It's like, it's not just because, I'm going to, like I said, inspiration, purification. But there's a certain need, right? There's a saying in ISKCON, we say, do the needful. When there's a need, and there's no one else fulfilling it, and you take the time to step up and say, I'm going to take responsibility for this, you really get the mercy, kind of like, they turn up the volume on the mercy. I heard this story once. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was, I think he was in Mayapur, he was serving Srila Prabhupada, and he went to one of the, there was some service that needed to be, that was it. They needed to clean Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada went for the morning walk, and they needed to clean the room. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj went up to some devotee, and he said, we have to clean Prabhupada's room. Can you please help? He said, no, Prabhu, I'm chanting my rounds. Right? But what's the value of your rounds when the service comes and you say, hey, no, I'm not going to do it. Service, according to the necessity of the service, brings about the greatest mercy. Thank you. What a wonderful point. Thanks. Please.
Prabhu, I had a question. So this Gopal deity, is it true that it's the same as Srinathji, which is...
Yeah, Natwara now.
Natwara?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, many of the deities from Vrindavan were removed and taken to Jaipur and other places. And so the Srinathji deity in Rajasthan now is this Gopal. It was installed by Krishna's grandson. And it's explained, as we read in the CC, that during the invasion of the Mughals, the Pujari, hid the deity. He just thought, I'll hide him in the bushes and then I'll come back later. Some translations, like in this Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it's explained he was in the bushes. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, it said that he was buried underground. But it's the same deity that now, yes, is in Rajasthan. Sundar Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the enlightening and insightful class. And thank you for bringing out the point that how Madhevendra Puri sets the standard for selfless service. And it's amazing that how he, puts Krishna in the center 100% and doesn't, even when he, I was reading the verse and I didn't find any selfish thoughts in that particular verse where he is thinking, if I could taste this little bit of verse, of kheer, then I can actually make it for Gopal. But he was so selfless, so that's the standard of selflessness that he was displaying to all of us.
Yeah, any trace, any trace of selfishness, and I read it and it's like, before I'm even cooking, I'm thinking I'm going to cook this because I like to eat this, and then I'll offer it to Krishna. Any trace for Madhevendra Puri, even just a just tiny little drop of and it was this question of was I thinking that this is for me? Was I thinking, he was doing it, but it's a really important lesson because what it shows, what it illustrates is that you always have to be so careful in your service. Right? Srila Prabhupada said devotional service is like walking on a razor's edge. Too much this way or that way and you're in trouble. So you have to remain vigilant. One of the things over years, I don't know how many times I've said this over the last 15 years, but I say that spiritual life is like a constant life of introspection. You have to be introspecting. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? What's motivating me to do this? And you really have to take inventory of your own heart and really be vulnerable with yourself. If you can't be with anyone else, but at least be authentic and vulnerable with yourself and say, where am I in my spiritual life? Because you can only make progress starting where you're at. If you think you're somewhere else, you may not be starting. And so, of course, Madhevendra Puri is so selfless and so pure. And yet even he, like I said, Krishna appeared to him so many times, brought him milk, and even he was hold on a minute. I shouldn't have thought that, So there's a lesson for us. We have to be introspective wherever we are. That's rich. Thank you, Prabhu. And the only reason I spoke so well is because you blessed me earlier, so thank you.
So one more reflection I had was, that he was running away from pratishtha or fame. Of course, those are the three categories that the acharyas explain are the, wealth, women, and fame that we get entangled in this material world or get attracted to this material world, but he was beyond all these attractions. So, thank you. On attachments.
Yeah. He was beyond, and again, a lesson for us, right? The danger of it. The danger of becoming sidetracked. I remember one time, my wife was with me, we were in Vrindavan, and we were coming back to Delhi. And we had this driver who was driving us, and he thought he knew, there was a lot of traffic. And he thought he knew this is the shortcut. And he came off the road and he took this shortcut. And we must have driven for good 15, 20 minutes, maybe more than that. And there was still traffic on that shortcut too. And we came to the end of the shortcut and you couldn't go any further. It was like a dead-end road. And so we had to turn around and come all the way back and go, join. So we wasted an hour because he was going to take a shortcut. And we ended up back where we were. And so similar to us in our spiritual lives, don't become sidetracked. Don't think there's any shortcut. Well, I can handle it. I can handle the pratishtha. I've been around for a few years. I chant my rounds, 4 in the morning, 4 on the way to work. Most of what I eat is offered to Krishna. I can handle it. Madhevendra Puri can't handle it, but I can handle it. Don't become sidetracked. There's no shortcuts. Like I said earlier on, Ravana trying to build a staircase to heaven. There's no shortcut, Ravana. You have to put in the work, man. And what is the work? You have to serve. And if you serve, then the devotees will be kind upon you, and then they'll tell you the real shortcut. They'll give you the real shortcut. It's not one that we can think of. It's not on the map. It's not on Waze. It's not on Google Maps. The real shortcut, only the devotees can unlock that for you, because they're the ones who hold the key to it. And that's their mercy. And that's their blessings upon you. So yeah, I mean, Madhevendra Puri, he could see the danger of becoming sidetracked. This is going to hinder, like in the CC, I can't remember the verse now. This will hinder my service. You know, Kaviraj Goswami says, this will hinder my service. So he runs away. Nothing. I don't want anything to hinder my service, because, I mean, so many lifetimes have gone by where things have hindered my service, you know? At least this lifetime let me try. And I'm going to get distracted anyway, because I'm like thick-headed. But let me at least be vigilant to not become sidetracked in shortcut. And like I said, you know, sometimes you can hear these things about selfless service and surrender and become discouraged. Like, I'll never get there. I'm so far. I mean, I get discouraged. I've been discouraged my whole life. Because, like, it just feels like this. I'm carrying so much selfish desire. I'm so materially motivated. You know, it's just so discouraging. I'm never going to get there. But don't become discouraged. Because Krishna says, on this path there's no loss of diminution. Even a little advancement can save you from the greatest danger. And you're going to have to do it eventually. It's too late for all of you. The minute you walked in these doors, it's too late. You're going to have to go back to Krishna eventually. He'll take you back. Either you're going to go kicking or screaming, or you can go voluntarily. I'll tell you a last story. I have no hair on my head. When I was younger, man, I didn't cut my hair for 3 years. I had really long hair. And then I became a brahmachari, and I remember when I had to shave my head. Actually, I shaved my head before I became a brahmachari. My father passed away, I went to India, and they said, you have to shave your head. I was like, I'm from London, I don't know if those rules apply to me. But nonetheless, I had to shave my head, and it was the most, like, I was so, for weeks I was depressed. Oh, my hair, it took me so long to grow my hair. Now, then I became a brahmachari, and then I voluntarily shaved my head. And there was no pain in it. Because I voluntarily shaved my head, it was painless. But when I was like forced to shave my head, it was the most painful thing ever. So for all of you, it's too late. Krishna's already got you. You may not know it, but he's watching you. Just like Madhevendra Puri, he's like, when are you going to come? I'm waiting. And so you're going to have to do it eventually. So do it joyfully. Hang out with the other devotees. Don't become sidetracked. Whatever degree you're surrendered, to whatever degree you're selfless, engage that in Krishna's service and let that grow. Because over time that will grow, and then the balance will shift the other way. Just like Madhevendra Puri, you'll be like, was that selfish of me? Right now I'm thinking, was that selfless of me? So now, your good fortune, my misfortune is that the time has come to an end. Thank you all so much. It's always a pleasure. Hare Krishna. Srila Madhevendra Puri ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you so much.